Hey, friends! Welcome to another episode of To Boldly Watch.
Woo!
Xander, Becca, how's it going?
So fabtabulous.
Oh, that's a fun new word.
I just love data and I love Sherlock Holmes, so I'm ready for this episode.
Are you a Sherlock, a homite? A home fan? A homie?
Yeah, I'm a homie. We call ourselves homies.
A homies, yeah.
Well, fun
The
fact,
Sherlock homies.
there's still a very avid Holmes sort of fan group.
I
Yeah,
definitely
we believe he's still alive.
If Sherlock Holmes is still alive. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes lives in Philadelphia right now. He is still alive. He's 131.
Good for him.
But still sharp as a tack.
Solving those mysteries.
Jake, what are we doing today?
We're doing a great episode. It's Elementary Dear Data. This is another wonderful holodeck episode where I actually have the wrong description pulled up. It's the wonderful episode where the Enterprise is threatened when a character in Data and LaForge's holodeck simulation becomes sentient.
Unlike every other holodeck episode.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. But before we begin today, I want to invite one of our dear friends to join us for a discussion. This is our first guest on To Boldly Watch.
Oh,
I'm very excited. Please welcome Bonnie Gordon. Hi, Bonnie.
Yay! How did I get here? Your transporter worked. Amazing.
it's just hailing frequencies. It's not.
I'm sorry, we should have warned you instead of beaming you right from your living room into this space, but here we are.
Yeah, at least give me some time to put pants on. Jeez Louise.
None of us are wearing pants.
You
It's
never
okay.
know when the
You're my friend.
transporter's going to get you.
Very true.
We'll transport some pants on you.
Oh, man. I want that to happen in an episode.
Bonnie,
yeah.
welcome. Thanks for so much for being here. For those
Thank
of you that
you.
don't know Bonnie, she is the other half of the Library Bards along with Xander.
We did the hands.
Yeah,
the
for those
podcast.
of you just listening to the podcast, there is a hand signal that goes along whenever anyone says library bards.
Just
It-
hands.
It's actually it was very instinctual how you did it. I actually think it was involuntary at this point.
It
Like
is.
your brain's
It
just
is.
doing it. Yeah.
Even when we're doing like just regular podcasts with no visual, if someone says library bards, we do the hands and we're like, no one can see us. What is wrong with us?
Well, now you've got us doing it.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, what is library bards?
Xander?
Library Bards are a nerd parody band. We take top 40 hits and transform them. Oh, I should do the actual thing.
That's right.
Library Bards are a nerd parody band.
That's right. We take top 40 hits to transform them into the nerdy versions they should have been in the first place.
We make them better.
We switched roles
We
on that.
did.
That's weird. I don't like that.
Wild.
We're never doing that again.
We didn't
I
know
was
the
like,
difference
this is not my
between
line.
wrong.
Follow us at Library Bards all over the place. We've got a few Star Trek songs.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Star Trek and dynamic duos, this episode features Geordi and Data having quite an adventure on their own, right?
Y'all.
Have you've seen this one before? Well, actually, before we get into it, what's your experience with Star Trek, Bonnie? I
Yeah.
know you are very familiar.
Oh, let me tell you. I am a huge Trekkie, first off. Not only am I a Trekkie just loving the universe, loving the lore, I actually got to kind of be in the world. I used to work the Star Trek Experience in Las Vegas before it closed down. So I was one of the actors as part of that attraction. I was in full Starfleet uniform. I was on the bridge. I would be talking to LaForge and Commander Riker on a screen, and they'd be like yelling at me, like, "Get these people to the shuttle bay!" And I'm like, "Yes, sir." You know,
Bonnie,
Ensign Douglas reporting for
I don't know if because it's been closed for a little while, I'm not sure everybody knows what the Star Trek Experience is. Do you want to
since
describe it?
2008. Since 2008.
Right.
Let's see. So the Star Trek Experience was an attraction in Las Vegas. It was it consisted of like two attraction like rides type of thing, but they were immersively experiences to where like you would be on like a full set with actors and full Starfleet gear, as well as there was a Quarks and a huge promenade where you could have dinner, you could have lunch, and actors.
What about
would be-
breakfast?
Sure. If that's most people weren't awake for breakfast, but yeah,
Pork
yeah,
omelet?
it's Vegas. Yeah,
Just to
or they just
clear-
hadn't gone to sleep yet.
Just to clarify that a little bit too, it combined sort of Next Generation and Voyager and DS9, which were all sort of running at this similar times.
I remember seeing commercials for the Star Trek Experience.
Yeah.
when I
It's
was
incredible.
thinking,
We had
whoa.
we had improv actors walking around as Klingons and Dorians, Ferengi. The Ferengi would be in the gift shop trying to like sell you products and like make you buy merchandise. It was really funny.
Typical
And-
Ferengi.
Exactly. And there was a whole next gen side attraction where you would be as if you were going on a ride, but then all of a sudden you would be transported in through a wormhole onto the actual USS Enterprise.
Which was a replica bridge, right? The
It
whole
was
bridge.
it was the transporter room. We'd go down to the bridge. We'd get into a turbo lift. We'd go down to the shuttle bay. It was big.
There was a transporter effect too. Like you were in one room and then like
Like they pull your molecules apart and put you back together in another part of Las Vegas.
Why do you have that?
They beam you through the Luxor light and then you come back down in Excalibur.
You would be in a room watching a little safety video about like, oh, we're gonna get on a ride. This is great. And then all of a sudden things would start shaking. You lights would flash. The video would go blank, and then it would go dark, and you'd feel this vacuum effect. And then all of a sudden the lights would come up, and you would be in a room twice the size as the one you were in, as the transporter room on the USS Enterprise. It was amazing. YouTube this, everyone. Everyone go YouTube the Star Trek Experience. They do like a full walkthrough of it. It's incredible. It's amazing, and it was such a fun job. But anyway, to clarify, I'm a huge Trekkie, and I was like talking to Riker and LaForge.
Yeah.
Bonnie, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Did you get this job first, or did you hear about the Star Trek Experience, were a fan of it, and then were like, I must work there?
The Star Trek experience is actually what made me a Trekkie. Because I was familiar with Star Trek, but I wasn't like a huge Star Trek fan. And I went to the audition and kind of BS'd my way through a lot of the audition and improv'd, they would ask me questions where I would have to improv as a Starfleet officer. And I would like, I can't answer that. That would break the time-space continuum. I would just like, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. Prime directive. And they were just like, okay, you got to answer something. Like, So I would just BS my way through the audition, but I knew enough to get me the job. And then I was like, I probably should do some research. And then that's when I started binging the show and was
what
like,
a great way to get into the show through that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Sitting in my Starfleet uniform at home, just like flipping through.
It's really great that we have you, the person who like lived a experience about living through something you want to recreate, because we're having an episode where our characters are living through something they wish to relive, right?
Yeah. And Data is my all-time favorite character, and I'm also a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. Just like Becca Scott was saying, like Sherlock Holmes is probably. I did a whole podcast on like why I love Sherlock Holmes, like a fangirl. It was weird, but no, I love Sherlock Holmes. I was a huge sci-fi fantasy nerd growing up, and Sherlock was one of the few things that wasn't like a fantasy novel that I would read, just because I was so intrigued by his intellect and the fact that he had like no empathy for people, yet could like help others in a way. I don't know. It was just
sidebar. Like that you called me Becca Scott. Please always refer to me as Becca Scott whenever any of you use
the Becca Scott.
Thank you. If I ever were to have a holodeck simulation experience of my own, I would choose to be in a Sherlock mystery.
Really?
Right?
Oh,
I probably wouldn't be able to solve it, but I'd be there for the ride. I'd be like, I'm just gonna watch you work. You do your thing.
Well,
I assume it's like an escape room, which I am excellent at.
Oh, if it's like an escape room, then yes. But if it's like the level of what Sherlock Holmes had to do, where it's like I had to do that. You're left-handed, but I'm like,
because you're left-footed and they go hand and foot.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Sherlock Holmes deduction, is just like making a lot of very specific observation and then like putting together the whole picture from just the fact that this rope hangs from here, there must be a snake in it kind of situation.
Yeah. I deduce that you own a hamster because I see the small hair the size of a hamster on your pant leg of the exact same height a hamster would climb to your ankle. I don't know.
Hamsters can only climb to a certain height. Of course.
And that is how I solved the crime of the missing hamster. It was up his leg in his pants.
Must have been a slow month for Sherlock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get into the episode.
So we begin our episode with, I believe, just Data looking for Geordi on the engineering deck, right? And he's got an urgent message from Geordi. Urgent, right?
And his Geordi's assistant Clancy
Yeah.
sent Data to
character.
the ship. The Victory?
The Victory, the not the Starship Victory.
It was a fake out.
Sea ship.
A sea ship.
and made by hand, which is quite a feat in the 23rd century, I'd imagine.
You can just tell the computer to replicate that.
I think he kind of did.
I bet he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
he didn't
computer
have time
replicate
for
the
that.
parts, and then I'll put them together like a Lego kit.
I've seen Jordy's engineering schedule. He didn't have time to put that together by hand. There's no way. He must have been working on that for years.
He had Clancy on the job. She knows what she's doing.
Clancy was like, I did most of that work.
Well, if he did it the right way, it would have been in a bottle. What was he even doing?
That would have been a very big bottle.
Yeah.
Wow, I have a thing about ship in the bottle I want to tell you about later.
Okay.
Get
Thank
ready.
you for that's a preview for what's to come.
Ooh,
So
foreshadowing.
we find out that it's time. We have a little bit of extra time because the Enterprise is rendezvousing with the USS Victory, the starship Victory, and we have some time to kill. So why not go play on the holodeck?
See,
And
here's the thing with Star Trek. Anytime there's downtime or shore leave, something horrible happens. So in all honesty, they should never take days off ever.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
is it that something or horrible always happens, or we just get episodes about the horrible things that happen?
Mm.
Oh, I guess because there's not really if there was just
that's
like an episode where they were on vacation doing nothing and just like actually sitting there like reading a book, I guess it would be kind of boring.
We never get to
It's
see
supposed
Risa because everything goes great there, I guess.
And it all stays on Risa, whatever happens there.
Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And then we get right into it, and the problem with it is that let me start this over. We get right into it with a holodeck experience where Geordi and Data get dressed up, and I have to say, Geordi makes that suit look good.
Yeah.
Right?
I really think he
Everybody
looks
in
dapper
these
as hell.
costumes this
Mhm.
episode, just primo.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the bowler hat. The
It is the collar.
costume designer's finally, it's like, yes, finally, something other than like off-shoulder weird dresses and
Well, they went all out with this episode. They also
Yep.
built like huge sets for this. I looked in the production notes, and it was like I think $250,000 for all the sets they built for all this,
No
which is
way.
pretty high on their budget, I believe.
Yeah,
Because
and
I
half of
think-
that was fog machines.
I think in original series, one of the sort of the cost-cutting measures is they used existing costumes and sets to be like different planets and stuff. And so I just figured that's sort of what happens with holodeck episodes is they finish filming something and they're like, we might as well reuse
This
it.
is so specifically like London in that time period. I think a lot of it was made for the episode. I'm sure they recycled stuff from around Paramount set or whoever that was CBS. I don't know, but like definitely a lot of this was made for this. It feels.
Yeah. I know, like in original series, like there'd be like a mob movie being shot,
Right.
like in the studio next door, and it'd be like, oh, now we're on a mobster planet. We're like, wait, what?
What's next month? A
Yeah.
cowboy film? All right, we'll do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they do
It
come
made for
back.
an oddly compelling sci-fi setting. No one's done
Mhm.
cowboy sci-fi before.
Well, and
Yeah.
this is also setting a precedent of these sort of holodeck worlds that sort of get attached to these series too. Because in Voyager, we'll see sort of like the Captain Proton or whatever it is that Tom Paris does, and the Sherlock.
I don't know what you're talking about. Elaborate.
Right. Well, the Sherlock Data trope is something that they can come back to later on, or someone else in England in that time period.
Well, they kind of did with the Big Goodbye, which was Dixon Hill, and
Right.
they'll recreate with him too. And then even Data had a little bit of like Sherlock Holmes isms with. There was an episode early in the first season where he did a Sherlock Holmes impersonation.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
Picard was introducing
Right.
Holmes to him.
Right.
Well, I'm just glad that Geordi is now the Watson. I love this duo. Any data-centric episode is one of my favorite episodes.
Oh,
And
just wait,
they're
Becca.
just
Just wait.
beautiful.
I can't wait till you get to the holodeck episode with
Ooh.
all the datas. Spoilers.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're not gonna go there yet.
So we go through a very quick mystery because Data solves it instantly. It is the scandal in Bavaria, I believe it was what it was, which is literally like, oh, this guy's actually against the king or whatever.
Here's the
First scene,
photograph.
You're meeting this person who you think is an ally, but look in their pocket. It's the final scene. All in one.
And Jordy's just like, fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm
I
leaving.
love Geordi getting upset with Data is so hard for Data. He doesn't understand what's going on.
I know.
He needs so
Yeah.
much more. Ugh. His
But then we get
disappointment volumes.
so they go to 10 forward and talk it out, but then we get the scene where Pulaski again kind of gets in her bullying mode that we talked about last episode with Becca, because I think Becca has mentioned like she doesn't like Pulaski because of how much she's like demeaning to Data. But this is a good example of this. Now we're actually going to carry it through, and we're going to see it's going to be put to the test. And I was actually calling Pulaski a bully at the beginning of this, but then as the scene progresses, Data cheerfully is like, I accept your challenge, Doctor. Would you like to come along? She's like, I would like nothing more. It's like, oh, this is going to be fun, not antagonistic. I like that. She
gets humanized a little in this episode, and I like it because she's starting to warm up. She has a line where she says, you're asking a computer not to compute, Geordi.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing with Dr. Pulaski is, like, everyone just accepts Data, like how he is, you know, like the crew of the Enterprise is just so accepting of Data that I kind of actually found it a little bit refreshing when her character came on board, where it was actually like, because a lot of people, when meeting an android or something with, you know, sentient life that is part machine, would have those arguments. You know, like if we found AI today, all of us would be like, oh, well, it's just a machine. Like,
well,
it's not alive. Of course, us watching Data, we love Data. And we're like, no, he's perfect.
Right.
But she's basically putting the voice into what most of, I think, humanity would say in an argument of, say, an android or a robot.
They also want to have like a real discussion about robot versus android, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a great point, because a lot of us should be mistrustful. Hey, Alexa, turn off the lights.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you all. Hey, Google, turn off the lights.
No, don't do that. That's mean.
Hey, Skynet, turn off the... Never mind.
Hey, Siri, create a version of yourself that could be defeated by your owner.
Whoa!
Hey, let's not do this. This is freaking me out. And now my phone is all crazy because you said Siri, and it's like, why?
Jake, that was a low blow.
Yeah, but now we're all terrified. You know, we're just like, we're sitting here in our own dooms spiral. Like, oh no.
So we get back to the holodeck. We bring Pulaski along this time, and we try again. And we say, instead of giving us a Sherlock Holmes mystery, give us a Sherlock-esque Holmes mystery, right? Mm-hmm. And Data once again observes two different things and solves it really quickly. And Pulaski's like, fraud. No.
She also looks great in red. We should mention.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she looks fabulous in this episode. I feel like it exudes like her style. Like she should be wearing that in the medical bay, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, I hope she is next episode.
Is she wearing something similar to what Crusher wore in The Big Goodbye?
No,
I can't remember what Crusher wore.
Crusher had a very form-fitting sort of like trench coaty type of thing, where Pulaski's got like full bustle, like
the bustle,
yeah. Big Victorian-esque, like the brooch, the high neck,
the big old stone on her chest too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great.
So
make a wish on that.
So Pulaski calls a fraud on the situation, and Geordi gives one of the best looks I've seen him give in this entire series, which is like, Data, get over here. Come on, you're making this look stupid.
Well, because it was a mashup of various Holmes mysteries, because the computer was doing its best, but this is a hard job.
Mm-hmm.
So they somehow managed to be like, computer, just make something that could possibly
defeat Data.
Defeat Data? Is that what the phrasing is?
And make defeat Holmes, but defeat Data.
Holmes-esque mystery that could defeat Data, basically. Right. And in doing so, the computer took am I allowed to say shit? Yeah. Cool. Well, a shit ton of energy from the Enterprise and did a whole energy flux and was like, oh shit, I need to pull some extra juice for this, because
which was noticed by the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
What is it? There's a bit of like a paradox in there too. There's, I think, is something about omniscience, is like, can something so powerful create another thing powerful enough to destroy it? It's like, can a computer make a program so powerful it becomes sentient enough to figure out its programming?
Yeah, my computer does it all the time. It just shuts off while I'm live. It's great.
It does not like Monkey Island, and it lets me know it.
I told you to stream magic.
So we reprogram the holodeck to actually be even more efficient. We notice some visual changes a little bit, but we're not sure what. And then we go exploring once again. And then Pulaski disappears, right?
Dun, dun,
she gets
dun.
abducted.
Well, damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Doctor in distress. Yeah.
That old trope. What I love... Oh, go ahead.
Didn't Crusher get kidnapped in Big Goodbye?
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you have a woman there to get kidnapped, the scene can continue, right, Becca?
Thank you. Yes.
It's a typical Tuesday for me. Just
What if in
kidnapping
this
here.
podcast recording you got kidnapped, Becca?
No, don't say that.
Stop, I'm recording a podcast.
No. Well, now we can move forward.
Well, she did have a heart out, so there we go. I guess kidnapping was on the schedule, and we had to keep it going. But now she's really gone. In any case, I will now be taking over for Becca Scott. Furthermore, with this podcast,
Big reveal.
You need a token reddish-haired female to talk Trek. I don't know. I got nothing.
It's funny because as soon as Pulaski disappeared, Data picks up her shoe and is inspecting it with his magnifying glass, trying to figure out what happened to her. And then he says the pivotal line, which is, "The game's afoot."
Not a hand.
And he's holding a shoe. Get it?
Bingo, bingo.
So what I love even before that is how they show Moriarty seeing the arch and seeing what's happening. It's almost like the computer instantly is like, okay, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
with just a little bit of racism and from before and a little bit of transphobia, but we're just dancing around it.
Oh, that transphobic line was very hushed in the
I missed it. What was it? Sorry, I was getting tea and crumpets.
Oh, I thought you were kidnapped, but good job.
I thought I was too. Turns out just tea.
Weird. Yeah, with the original mystery that Data solves, there's just a little. Not only does he use a racially charged word to describe people that are kidnapped in the story, but also at the end, I was about to describe that the she was actually a he. And
wait, what racially charged? I'm sorry. Just what are you referring to?
For the Romani people, they had said.
The gypsies. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Cool.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying now. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little there are a lot of little choices like that they definitely made.
Yeah, and then we see this again with Moriarty, who's just there was it a dark boy.
He says that dark fellow. Something
which is funny because Watson was white and also didn't wear a visor, but that's the choice that they tend to highlight as skin color. And also Sherlock wasn't that white.
Yeah.
Data white.
It's not Watson with a headband on his face.
Yeah. Very interesting things they choose to highlight. So we find out that Pulaski's been taken. We don't know by whom yet, or we know, but Data doesn't know. And then we have what I like to call a quick side quest, where there's someone else has been murdered in the street, and Sherlock's got to figure out what happened.
What I love about that scene is Geordi's like, "Ooh, let me try," and he's deducing what he sees. And is completely wrong, and Data actually does solve it, and I just think it's so funny that Geordi's just cracking his knuckles, let me give this a shot. I got this. I can deduce. It doesn't deduce.
And
much.
I felt bad for Geordi in that portion, but then I remembered that's actually the Watson role is to incorrectly surmise things and then let Sherlock come in and finish it.
Exactly. It's almost like
playing the part.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Watson sets up the pitch, and then Holmes knocks it out of the park. That's sports.
That's sports right there.
Look at
there
me
was a
referencing
Holmes run word somewhere in there.
And Data does discover the more important information that's there with this other red herring of a murder, which is that the computer is doing something different than what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with the capture of the Doctor.
Right.
Speaking also of Geordi's performance
as Watson, for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Also, Geordi's performance as Watson, I think, was a direct choice of LeVar Burton to not have him do a very good accent. I feel like Geordi doesn't know how to play act is kind of the joke. He's just an engineer, so he's trying his best with a clearly Americanized version of Watson.
Oh, can we just say real quick, because we skipped it in the very beginning, that Data playing the violin perfectly and amazingly was such a fun little Easter egg, because, again, I know that y'all are all watching this and some of you are seeing a lot of these episodes or a lot of these shows for the first time, but Data actually does play the violin later and it picks it up as a hobby. And so I just think it's so interesting that I think that the fact that Sherlock Holmes plays the violin is what sparks that creativity of music in Data, which I've always liked, because Data is very much like Sherlock Holmes. He's trying his best to understand empathy and emotions and connect with, which Sherlock Holmes does not do. And so it's I think it's a really cool correlation that Data picks that up later as an actual hobby.
Does Brett Spiner play violin?
He does later. In that scene, he was not playing the violin.
Yeah, he's not playing. I think he does later. I think he probably took lessons. I think he had to learn a lot of skills to be Data. He's like, I need to actually paint.
That actor that will learn any new skill and do it to the best of his ability. He's such a perfectionist, which is why he's the perfect choice for Data.
He's so good.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
He does play the ukulele. I know that.
You're talking about was so clear that the scene. Wait, he plays the ukulele?
Yeah,
that's amazing. The one
He's a
where Data
virtuoso.
walks out of the hologram because Data's solving the mystery too quickly was an amazing lesson in acting, as Brett Spiner is bound to do in every episode where he's featured, because he was just, checking the boxes, performing basically a one-man show of solving this mystery.
mm-hmm.
Really great.
He's perfect. He's perfect.
To speak on what Bonnie had mentioned too, I think we can see the parallels between a Sherlock Holmes type character and a Data type character of maybe a metaphor for autism or social awareness of being hyper intelligent and unable to comply to social norms. And it's that journey, of not just them trying to be more human, but other people trying to adjust the way they think and see them in society.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Pulaski's there. So there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, so we get quite an astonishing villain in Moriarty, played by, oh man, what is that guy's name? He was great.
I got you. His name is Daniel Davis, and I
Yeah.
loved him so much. Fell for Moriarty hard, y'all. And I had to
It's
look
that
him up.
those blue eyes, those bright blue eyes.
It was
Or maybe that's just the color
intellect.
contrast on my television set.
Yeah, well, he does have piercing eyes, but it's the intensity with which he holds you to those eyes. And I had to find out. I mean, I had to look him up and see what else I'd seen him in. Niles and the Nanny. He's the butler in the show with Fran Drescher, where she's this very obnoxious nanny. And then I also noticed that he returns to in season 6 of
you saw that.
in an episode called Ship in a Bottle. I will come back to the ship in the bottle.
That's a secret for later. That's a future podcast.
Yeah, but all the secrets are being kept from me because I'm the only one that's either in this podcast or listens to it that hasn't already watched all of these episodes multiple times.
Gotcha.
Another fun fact about Daniel Davis is he used an English accent, but he is from Arkansas and has an American accent.
No, I
know, right?
Because he in the Nanny, he's a British butler.
That's what.
So I would have assumed
Arkansas,
that
boy.
he is British because American actors don't try.
One thing that I don't think that I've ever seen this in any reiteration of Moriarty, and maybe it's because I don't know, but Moriarty, the character himself, is actually born in Ireland, and I don't think I've ever seen a Moriarty with an Irish accent. It could be because later they're like educated university wise.
Is the Moriarty in the new BBC one with Benedict Cumberbatch? Doesn't he kind of Irish?
I don't think so.
You mean the very sexy priest from Fleabag?
He also plays that role, yes.
I don't think he does an Irish accent.
Okay.
He might do Scottish, I think, but there's something.
Andrew
Yeah.
Scott.
Maybe. I'll have to double check.
What's his name?
His name is Andrew Scott.
Andrew
His
Scott.
name is Moriarty. Okay. Y'all.
Becca, you also just said that American actors don't try after spending 2 full minutes praising Brent Spiner.
I know, it was a joke. It was what I meant to say is that English actors focus way more on their training and their theatrical training and theatrical background than your typical American TV actor does. And also, Andrew Scott is Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I think there is an Irish
Right there on
tinge
his
to it
sidebar.
from that.
So good. So yes, that great. But I was looking forward to seeing Moriarty with an Irish accent on the holodeck, but he did not have one. But that's okay. I accept.
Well,
I accept
perhaps
it.
in the consequence, I will just do my Irish accent for the rest of the episode. And
All right,
Yeah.
I'll do one as well, and together
perhaps
we'll
you'll find
offend.
some consolation in this.
Yes, we'll offend every Irish person listening to the podcast today.
Welcome to our Lucky Charms fan cast.
Well, then we move on down to out of the. Now I'm getting Minnesota. All right, we get out of the holodeck after we realize that something is wrong, and we realize something's wrong because Data looks at a piece of paper drawn by Moriarty after confronting him. And
may I just say that I totally called that it was the Enterprise, but I did not think it would be a stick figure version of the Enterprise.
Well, he said something about like I'm like a flea on a turtle or something like that.
A flea on a turtle's back.
A fly atop a turtle's back.
Yeah. As most flies, that's what they tend to do.
You
And he
can't
realizes that
see.
he's a passenger aboard a vessel and he doesn't quite understand what it is. And we get that interesting revelation at the end of the third act break, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm so excited about is I think all of that led up to all of us just being able to see Patrick Stewart in a top hat. I think this whole episode was only to get Patrick Stewart in a popping top hat,
Right.
in a nice suit. Like that was the whole point of this.
I did like think as soon as Picard was like, I'm suiting up too. I was like, all right, now we're getting into what they really wanted to do the whole time.
You just wanted,
I wanted to say,
that's Picard's whole intention as well, is he just wants to be able to get into the holodeck and solve a mystery. He was rather upset he was left out in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I did want to say before we move on from the piece of paper thing, if you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's a great character in Toph, and what they could have done here is Data freaking out, what's on this piece of paper, handing it to Geordi and saying like, well, I know it's a piece of paper and there's something on it, but can't see that with my visor, huh?
Yeah.
Because he's used to dealing with data pads and technology
Right.
and stuff. But no, it was a fun. I especially like the way that he flipped it, and it was like, it's the Enterprise,
Like a reveal.
Yeah.
Does that mean that he was looking at it upside down?
It's the way he
couldn't see
flipped it. Yeah.
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 We get back to the observation lounge and we inform Captain Picard and the bridge crew that we made the difficulty level too hard on our game and we need help now because the ship's in trouble.
And then we get our required French from Picard.
Man.
Which again, that's the second time he's dropped it now, and it made it past the censors. I also read somewhere I can't remember where I read it, but on caption sometimes it'll say "damn" instead of "shit," which I think is how they got away with it. So Picard thinks that
American ignorance can get you away with many things.
So Picard resolves to come and help them. He and apparently Worf also suits up.
Worf looks great.
And looks so fly.
Which is hysterical because he doesn't do anything for the
No.
rest of the episode. But it's like he's all ready.
He's on standby.
He's excited. He's like, I'll be here outside the doors.
I wish they'd just given him one scene to go punch a mugger, right? Like go do what Data did and pinch his finger really firmly.
It's just so funny to me that he got all suited up and like it was just the costumer's excuse to like get another costume out of the warehouse and be like, ooh, let's dust this one off. And
who fits into this? Michael Dorn.
Pulaski and Moriarty have a little bit of a scene where they share tea and crumpets, and he's actually quite kind to her and is more just inquisitive about what is going on, and she is struggling to explain and realizes that he is not a normal simulation.
Well, and all the while she's giving away information that she doesn't mean to, because Moriarty, like Holmes, is able to pick up on what isn't said, the small details that give away too much.
And then
I said I would do it the rest of the episode.
However, she does not do a very good job. Like she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's so obvious. Like even I could be like, okay, lady.
It's
like,
like
I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but I'm picking up what you're putting down, which you're not putting down anything. But I picked it up and I'm looking at it and I'm like, there it is.
But Pulaski is entranced by the hologram and its intelligence and its sentience. And part of me thinks that she wanted it to figure it out because she was really enjoying her interaction with him.
Listen, here's the
that
thing.
like Stockholm syndrome or something? Is that what
Stockholm
that's
syndrome.
Sure is.
Yeah,
Sherlock
that's what I was
syndrome.
going to say.
Sherlock Holmes syndrome.
There it is. Pulaski is very much playing the science nerd that came along to the LARP, and that she's like, I'll play along with your dumb game and we'll have tea or whatever, but really, she's a scientist and she's serious, and so this is her playing and having fun and going along with the game. She thinks that she's being captured to fool Data.
You could almost see McCoy being here, be like, "Damn it, man, we don't have time for crumpets."
Yeah.
I'm a doctor, not a statesman.
Do you think that she's onto the fact that something is not right when he knows the name of Data and the Enterprise and Picard?
Yeah, exactly. That's when it all becomes clear. Is like, there's more than meets the eye.
Her lack of fear shows that she does not believe herself to be in danger, I would say.
Yeah, well, it's the holodeck. So why would she believe otherwise? And we also see that Pulaski came to the same conclusion that Picard does in the observation lounge, in that it's better to blend in and play along rather than give them information. So she, as a Starfleet officer who has like the similar training, comes to the same conclusion as Picard.
Yeah.
We've also learned that perhaps the Enterprise has a much more like a super souped up holodeck compared to other holodecks she's been on, because she was impressed when she first stepped into London.
Well, it got enhanced, remember? Yeah. Oh, I was like, I'm trying to remember, because I've seen the episode. That was the previous episode, right? Okay, it was enhanced. Their holodeck was enhanced.
Yeah, they got a new OS on the last
They got some
Starbase.
upgrades.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the Bynards that did that.
Right.
So to kind of fast forward a little bit, Picard confronts Moriarty, who is a civilized abductor, which I really like. And they have a really great conversation about like sentience for holograms, which is the first time we've really confronted this. And I know not the last.
Yeah.
We kind of did it with the Dixon Hill episode, The Big Goodbye, but the holograms weren't really sentient in the way that Moriarty is, who really knows what's going on, right?
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, they pull out the old Descartes. So like that's a great moment there to really humanize what is not human at this moment.
And what I love
the T and Descartes, because you ignore the EM.
Descartes.
What I love too. So here's the thing with Moriarty, he is a very villainous, evil character. Like he is ruthless in the Holmes series, to where what I love what they did here is he actually states, I know I'm supposed to be this evil character, but now I'm different. I've changed, to where, because the whole episode, I'm just like, this is not Moriarty. He's giving her tea. Like Moriarty would not just be like, oh, let's just sit here and wait. I'm just going to pull this lever.
Well, she says, I've read Holmes and you're not Moriarty.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I really loved, is that they actually justified that choice and went as far as to actually acknowledge it and to make him, basically letting him grow. Like, I'm not just this evil character that this computer's created. I've changed.
I feel like that's an active choice they made too, because they wanted to create an adversary that could beat Data, not Sherlock, which is not, to beat Sherlock, you need someone who is nefarious. Whereas with someone to beat Data, you need someone who's clever at recognizing and investigating.
And is also more human than on a page.
Yeah.
Good point. Yes. Well,
and there's direct parallels. There's a reason, besides the damsel in distress, that it's Pulaski that has this encounter with this hologram that becomes sentient, because it's in direct contrast to Data being an android that has become sentient.
Yeah.
So that she goes through that journey with him and sees how sentience could be achieved.
But the writers have only 45 minutes to address it. So Picard's like, you know what? We're gonna save program here, and we're gonna come back to this in the future.
We're gonna put a pin on this.
I really love their conversation, because Picard and Moriarty, Picard goes in and says, "What if we just give him what he wants?" Which is always Picard's answer and always works out fine. And,
or blow up the ship. One or the other.
Yeah, he flips a coin every morning and decides which it'll be. But it's such a beautiful discussion of what is sentience, and when we get to the Descartes,
I'll edit out the tea, don't worry.
Fix that in post, will you?
Yeah, and he asked the question, what is it? And it's like, you're not going to come back to this save file, dude. You're going to forget about me. But
I don't know.
Season 6.
Yeah,
I feel like the genuine curiosity of the Enterprise crew would demand that they return to this, especially someone like Data, who knows that someone like this is out there now in the program. They would want to seek it out again.
It's a very tragic scene. It was very touching. I really felt for Moriarty.
What were you gonna say, Xander?
Just before we said goodbye to Moriarty, he's just the only person that can say, "I'll still fill you up with crumpets," and mean it as like a compliment or a nice gesture.
Yeah, it was a compliment. It was so sweet. I would still treat you as well as any guest, right?
by filling you with crumpets until you collapse on my punch.
I believe in true love, and that was it right there. You find a man who will feed you crumpets. That's what I'm looking for.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
So reportedly, the original ending had Jean-Luc Picard lying to Moriarty, saying that he could exist outside the holodeck the same way the piece of paper on which he drew the Enterprise also stayed intact outside the holodeck. But and the Maurice Hurley, the co-producer, wanted that ending, but Gene Roddenberry said no because it makes Picard look really cruel because he would go out there and disappear.
It's basically, I mean, obviously it's not in the true sense, but it's basically killing someone, and it's everything. It's everything that's against the Hufflepuff of Picard.
It's also the same ending as The Big Goodbye, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we're just
I
repeating
think it was an earlier holodeck episode that ended that way.
Yeah.
With some gangsters. But there is the discussion of you'll have to kill me then. And he doesn't mean murder him with a knife. He means like turn me off because now you know I'm sentient in here.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a good conversation, and I like that it left it ambiguous.
And the whole like base of the Federation is to discover new life and new worlds, and you know, they basically, I mean, obviously it's a little different. It's a holodeck program, but it's basically new life in a sense, to where Picard destroying the program or destroying Moriarty in a sense of having him destroy himself by walking out of the holodeck is against everything Federation stands for. So for him to save the program and to say that when we figure something else out or whatnot, then
it's equivalent to like, we don't have the cure for this disease now. Let's freeze some people and make them someone else's problem.
That makes it great.
basically it.
Let's revisit that idea.
Yeah.
Also, how freaking interesting concept about well, why is this ship unique? Why can't other Federation holodecks create something similar and not have the wise Picard to know how to handle it? And then there is this new life that they have to morally deal with.
They need to send out a memo about this occurrence, right? To the other ships to be like, hey, keep the difficulty settings low.
Yeah.
Urgent. Yeah, maybe not try. Well, and in that defense, though, creating an adversary to defeat, you know, Geordi or someone else, like they could create a program that's complicated that, you know, most human minds would not be able to, you know, that would have a difficulty doing. But to defeat someone like Data, you have to go above and beyond. And
so that was it was really great that we got to explore Sherlock Holmes. Just a quick note, at the time of filming, the producers believed that Sherlock Holmes' character was in public domain, but after the episode aired, the estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle notified Paramount that they retained the percentage to the rights of the character, and they required a usage fee. So that's why we don't get another sequel of this for years, because of the legal problems.
Yep, and they got to wait till it's public domain.
But I'm so excited for more antics on this. This episode was great. It was a good little romp in the holodeck. And next episode, we're going to get a romp in space because we have the outrageous Okona. The Enterprise crew rescue a freighter captain whose ship is malfunctioning, but his friend drags them into an interplanetary feud.
This is basically like the Jerry Springer of Star Trek. This episode is a Jerry Springer episode, and I go watch it, and you'll understand what I'm talking about.
That's a good preview for next week. A Jerry Springer episode of Star Trek.
Jerry Springer episode of Star Trek. It's like,
thank you, Bonnie, for so much for being on here. I'll send a link to all of the awesome stuff you're involved in our description below.
Thank you.
But before we head out, I want to say something that I think Data says when he realized Pulaski's gone, which is the game is afoot.
The game is afoot. I had a delay. On mine.
Well, through the magic of editing, we'll figure it out.
Oh, man.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
Adios.